Hey everyone, welcome to Group Text. Okay, we have a quiz today. See if you can figure out who's today's guest is. So no names yet, because as soon as I get into specifics, you guys are going to be like, duh, we know who it is. She took the world by storm over a decade ago in the hit Netflix series Orange is the New Black. She won 2 SAG Awards and earned 4 Emmy nominations for her role in that show. Won her first Emmy for producing in 2014. She is the host of an interview series, as well as the host of her own podcast. Currently stars in the new sci-fi thriller, Uglies, now streaming on Netflix. So, okay, literally, this is such a softball. If you still don't know who I'm describing, here's your lifeline. Like, guys, like, this is so sad that I'm going to have to think that you don't know this by now. She has been absolutely killing it as the host of E's live from the red carpet coverage since 2022. Hi, Laverne Cox.
Hello, Melissa. How are you?
I am good. How are you? Look so cute this morning. I'm not sure cute is what we got, but I'm loving the plaid.
I just threw some makeup on, and this is a new Mugler. I mean, it's from 1989, but it's new to my collection. I collect vintage. So it's new, so I wanted to just wear it. And
it looks great.
Thank you. Can I say to you, Melissa, it was a couple of years ago, I got a Google alert, and it was a quote from you, and they were in the quote said something like, they asked you about my work on the red carpet, and you said, it's so great that we brought fun back to the red carpet. And I started crying. I started crying because obviously, your mother and you started this whole red carpet thing back in the 90s. And I'm such a huge fan of you and your mother. And obviously there's only one Joan Rivers, and people have so much criticism and say all these things. But when you said that, it just made me feel there just aren't even words. So thank you for that. I'm eternally grateful. It really just gave me permission to just keep doing what I was doing. So
well, thank you. And we're going to get into all the red carpet stuff and my opinions on that and how everyone's opinions. And by the way, just so you know, the very first time you were on, I texted the truck, because it's still a lot of the same people, and said that you were doing a great job. Mm-hmm. And if they didn't tell you, that's typical network bullshit. So I told them from the first time. I just made sure I also said it publicly.
Thank you. No, but I loved the crew. I loved everybody I worked with.
We had the best crew. The best, the loveliest people to work for, the crew, the writer, like everyone's fantastic. It's all good. Okay, but we have so much to talk about.
Okay.
And let's get the newest out of the way first.
Okay.
Uglies, your new movie, is a huge hit on Netflix. So try and explain to people what the movie is about.
Uglies is based on a young adult book series by Scott Westerfield. There's 3 books in the series, and there's an extra book by Scott Westerfield, and it's set in a dystopian future where these kids go into a school at the age of 12, and at the age of 16, they have a mandatory surgery to make them pretty. And the idea, and they move from Ugly Town to New Prettyville, and the idea of the surgery is to make an egalitarian society where no one is discriminated against because of how they look. And shocker, there's a little bit of a twist. And the character that I play, Dr. Cable, is the architect of this brave new world.
I mean, she is a villain.
I had so much fun playing this part, and it's something I kind of manifested. I'd always wanted to play something in this sort of sci-fi, futuristic, dystopian genre. I feel like in the future, like being a trans woman who's also an actress, it's not necessarily easy. So I was like, in the future, anybody could be any gender. So I had just a blast playing this role, and if I'm entering a villain era, I'm perfectly fine with that.
I just think that transformation had to tap in to all your most fun, over the top instincts, and still having. I was saying, as an actress, you were able to pull it back to reality. But when one starts thinking villains and getting to play one, and the fun of creating the person, it kind of does tap into a certain community that loves Joan Crawford. and all
Sure.
these sort of iconic, strong women, shoulder pads.
Yeah. Yeah. 1980s. Yeah. I try, the process though for me as an actor is always my process is like it I'm not a Methodist or method actor. We say Methodist as a joke. I'm not a method actor, but I do a lot of my prep is Strasberg based, Meisner based.
I
My
studied
acting
with
coach.
Meisner.
Oh my God. Okay, that's a whole conversation I would love to just, oh my God,
That's
incredible.
cocktails.
Yeah. So we go deep. So what would the big piece that in terms of the prep was that in the book, Scott writes that Dr. Cable has eyes like a wolf. And so we've been doing with my acting coach, Kimberly Harris, we've been doing animal work for several years now. And in my sort of initial training in the early 2000s, with Susan Batson, I did animal work. So we've been bringing animals work back into it. And that work isn't like a lot of that foundational work to build a character. I wouldn't say it's fun because it's always about kind of going to the very bottom of your own wounds and triggers and finding where where your unfulfilled need meets the character. And the animal allows you to kind of physicalize and vocalize in specific ways that aren't you. So I can't say that all that's fun, but what's great about it is when I get to set and we've done all this prep ahead of time, and then I get to start interacting with the other actors then, and I'm manipulating and I'm like, conniving. Then it becomes so much fun, but the fun is grounded in something that's true to my experience and to the biography we've created for the character. So that's when it gets juicy and fun, and the other actors were so much fun to play with.
But we all have to remember, more than anything, you're a great actress.
Thank you.
So for me, I was going to say the joke is you could also ignore all the animal work, go to Hermes, walk around, be ignored, and tap into all sorts of primal anger.
Yeah. I mean, it's what I love. Can I say what I love about what is a blessing about my life? It's changed a lot since I've become famous and all that stuff. But like having it come later in life, having come in my 40s, I'm 52 now, and being Black and trans in Hollywood, it's allowed me not to sort of get carried away, not to sort of get, full of myself, because the industry will humble you in a second. Maybe some people can, like I've seen some people like have their moments and they're in a hot new show, and then they're having sex with all these hot people, and like they're the toast of all this, then they're feeling themselves. And it was just always something that kept me from like going fully into that like delusion.
Yeah.
Which is good.
And still not getting to sit at the right lunch table in high school at all. I'm convinced it all goes back to high school.
It's so high school, and like LA, I like LA, but it's so high school, and the industry is so high school. So I just,
I get it.
You know what I mean.
I get it. Let's talk about the movie. The characters you started to tell us undergo this surgery.
Yeah.
Called the transformation, where then they reach 16, it changes them to whatever they look like, to beautiful versions of themselves. And it's very wink and a nod almost to Stepford Wives in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But clearly there's a deeper message.
I mean, oh God, it gives, for me, it invites, I don't want to give away the twist for people who haven't seen the movie, but like there's something about sort of I like to think about the movie in terms of like Tally, who's played by Joey King, and Shay, who's played by Brienne Shu. And Tally like has bought completely into this idea of like, I'm gonna be pretty and everything's gonna be perfect and amazing. And Shay is like, well, maybe there's another way. And of course, like, there is a resistance to this, right? It wouldn't be a movie. There's like, people trying to fight against this society. And there's Shay who like questions the system. And so for me, it's like, I love the people who feel like really get the movie, have like talked about beauty standards, how we challenge them, who creates them, is it a way of controlling people's minds, looking at critically at like Instagram and filters and plastic surgery. I mean, it's such a, surgery's become so normalized with Instagram in a way that's like, and then people sort of going, I could see any number of like YouTube videos where people like, I went in Colombia to get my body done. It's just like this thing, it's like a thing, you know, that just a lot of quote unquote normal people do, that like you would think like back in the day, it was like people in Hollywood going and getting surgery, but like, no, I mean, it's, you know, with surgery tourism, you can go to another country and it's really inexpensive. So I think it just invites us to be critical of all that and to critically interrogate that stuff. To me, it's like an invitation to think critically about all that stuff.
It started out as what you say, a young adult, a YA book series.
Yeah.
How did you find it? And how did they find you?
Well,
because it really does seem such a great combination on so many levels, from your abilities as an actress to what you represent to your personal voice and mission.
Yeah, I mean, they reached out. So Joey King actually loved the books as a kid. And when she was 17, she licensed the IP. Can you imagine a 17-year-old having that, you know, and then by the time she was 22, so it took 5 years, we were shooting the film. She's 25 now.
Which is ridiculous. She's only 25. Like, I just can't.
I know. I can't.
You know what I mean?
And she's brilliant and beautiful. And then they reached out once the script was written, and the producers reached out. McG, who directed it, I think I was his first choice, and I read the script and I just said yes, absolutely. It was an immediate yes because of McG and because of the story and Joey. And obviously I have a relationship with Netflix that's longstanding, so it was just an immediate yes after I read the script. So, yeah.
What was the moment that you sat down and took in, I was the first choice? Because it never happens.
Well, that's what you said. I don't always believe it when they say it. So that's kind of how I'll rationalize it. I was honored, and then like just getting to work with him was so amazing. But like the second I got the part, I was like, I have to get to work. I called my acting coach. I'm like, we got this. I send her the script, and I just kind of get to work. So I don't always give myself a chance to take in the first choice thing, and then I'm even skeptical when it is said. I don't always believe it. So I just kind of get to work, and I maybe don't take enough time to kind of take in everything because I'm always like thinking about the next thing and like, how do we can keep it going? I told her I rewatched Piece of Work, and when I rewatching that a few months ago, the documentary about your mom that's on HBO, and it just popped up on my feed for whatever. Joan Rivers is like the algorithm knows me really well. All these Joan Rivers like clips pop up on my Instagram and on my YouTube feed, and so Piece of Work just popped up, and so I was just like, let's rewatch this. And that whole showbiz thing of like trying to find a new moment, trying to stay relevant, like that, it hit me like a brick in a different way this time when I watched it. And at this stage in my career, like, you know, I'm not on like that hot hit show anymore that's critically acclaimed and like an international sensation like Orange is the New Black was. That was a really potentially once in a lifetime thing where like critics love it. I got 4 Emmy nominations from that show. It was lauded all over the world. It kind of kicked off the streaming thing. It was a moment, and I was on all these magazine covers and I was having a moment, and like I'm still working, thank God, and I'm still busy, but I'm not having the moment I had like, you know, 2014 to 2016, 2017. So showbiz has those ebbs and flows, and I just connected so deeply to a Piece of Work again, because also like I do all these things and I'm grateful that I can, especially when the strike happened, I was so grateful for my e-job. I was just so grateful, you know, that I have multiple streams of income. But like, even with 4 Emmy nominations, I feel like I still have to prove myself as an actress, you know, that people like want, you know, because I'm trans and Black and a woman in my 50s, that I still have to prove myself. So there's so much in that doc that I just like, oh, it hit me in my gut. And yeah, showbiz is treacherous, but you have to freaking love it. You have to love it because it's not worth it otherwise.
No, my mother always said, you have to, in the bottom of your soul, say there is literally nothing else I can do. And if you don't have that, don't stay.
Yeah.
Because it will, you know, and you come at it from such an outsider's, and I mean that in a good way, point of view. you weren't the head cheerleader, you weren't the model transitioning into being an actress, that it's always a very different experience. And it's a very different experience that I think that a piece of work really spoke to.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can go super deep of never feeling enough, of always feeling judged, of always feeling different, of always feeling having to prove yourself above and beyond.
And that's what's so, I mean, that was your mom's career, like the whole time as a woman, you know, just to being a woman, choosing to do what she did. It's just, I think that's why so many LGBTQ people like relate to her story, because she was always an outsider and always like had so much courage. And so just say things and just to dare to be who she was and to do it is so courageous. It's such a courageous story. I'm obsessed with your mother.
Oh, well, thank you.
In a good way, and not
I'm not afraid. It could. If I ever need to sell something, I know who will buy it because she's working. I don't have to go to any of my non-working actor friends. She's working. Would you like to buy a shoe?
Quite possibly some jewelry, maybe. We'll talk. Anyway, yeah, this showbiz is really, it's rough, but you have to really love what you do and you have to constantly remind yourself why you're doing it. And so, yeah, and then hopefully that you'll be of service. One last thing I'll say about your mom, when I had the pleasure of doing Fashion Police a few times, and one of the things that blew me away is during the commercials, it was obviously taped. She would go and do stand up for the audience there. Just, it felt like, I mean, obviously she was maybe trying out new material, but it's also like I felt this deep need to connect with the people, to really just feel the energy. And there was just a generosity that she had way before I was famous. I was at this fashion, it was the when they were doing fashion night out, like right before Fashion Week started. I was at this event in Soho, and there were other people, I won't say who were from Fashion Police since before I was famous. And like one person, you know, I was, you know, and I don't take it personally when someone doesn't want to take a picture, but they, you know, they were a little huffy when I asked for a picture, and, you know, because they were in the middle of something. And your mom was just like, and I'm not always that person who wants to take a picture. So I get it, but your mom was just, I wasn't famous, I wasn't anybody, but she was just so kind and so sweet and just so grateful. Like there was just such a beautiful, anyway.
But also, when a little tip for whenever you don't feel like doing it, my mother always used to say, it's your job. That's who's buying the tickets.
Yeah.
That's who's watching the show. You don't need to take a picture with someone who's important. You need to take a picture with the people who have been standing there waiting, being patient.
Amen.
And that's so much of it. But I want to talk about red carpet because I would be remiss, and I've always wanted to talk to you about it because it's such a wild experience that people don't get it, that you walk off absolutely exhausted. Yes. Because the amount of concentration. How do you, because I know how we did, how do you prepare for the events?
It's so much work. I don't know if people understand how much work it is. So I try to watch everything, or at least an episode of the TV. If it's Emmys for the TV show, at least an episode. So if I could watch a whole season, I would. I try to watch every movie. If it's Oscars, if I couldn't sit through the movie, I would watch at least parts of it or key moments of what moments that I was interviewing the person for, if I knew who I was interviewing. And then I would try to watch other interviews that they've done so that I wouldn't repeat questions, or if there was something that like I wanted to know more about that they said in an interview, I like would explore that way. So I just did it was a lot of work and a lot of prep, and People's Choice was the worst because People's Choice is music, reality TV, film, TV,
I hear you.
Podcast. So I was just like,
you're like, and half the time it's going so fast. You're like, who the fuck are these people?
The prep, but I would, so that pronouncing everyone's names correctly. And I've had a few snafus where I didn't get people's names right. But I, believe it or not, we have pronouncer docs. The team at E is incredible because they have pronouncer docs. But then I would try to find videos of them saying their names themselves. pictures so I knew who they were. The team will remind me sometimes. I'm like, because sometimes some of the white girls look the same. So like the producer Sam would be there and he'd be like, I'm like, this looks like, and then in person they're blonde and skinny and like beautiful. And it's just like, so
By
the
the way,
producers there help out.
they all do look the same. And then God help you if somebody has changed their hair color, because then you are completely fucked, or cut all their hair off. Because in your mind, you've picked the one thing you will recognize them by.
But the team there is so amazing to help remind me that this is who this person is. And, even if I need to pronounce how to say their name. And then the reason I watched everything is so I could hopefully have some kind of genuine interaction, something that felt real, something that felt like me interacting with the work with the artist as an artist, because I'm an artist as well. We try, some people were more fun and like we could laugh and like improv a little bit. Obviously, I'm not your mother, so I'm not gonna, no one's your mother. So I tried to have authentic interactions, have it be entertaining, hopefully for the audience, take people into the vibe of it. I'm a fan, so I let myself be a fan. Some people were critical of that. I try not to read reviews, but someone was just like, Laverne wants to is auditioning to be the next best friend of the celebrity, and I'm just like, I am who I am.
Yeah, and
I'm not.
I know. I'm just laughing.
The weird thing about it is that like I'm not one of those people who's trying to like be friends with celebrities. Like I mostly live in New York, and I understand that we are colleagues and we're not friends. I'm not trying to like hang out, because like a lot of these celebrities make so much more money than me trying to keep up with them, going on trips and stuff. I'm like, that's too much.
But also,
so I'm actually not trying to be best friends with them.
But what I'm trying to say is, if you click with someone, you click with someone.
Yes. And that's a beautiful thing, because I think the audience loves that. What I've noticed is that the audience loves it. And when I interviewed Jennifer Aniston for this last Emmys, and one of the producers came, we were, the show, she was like our last interview. And one of the producers was like, that's the longest interview Jennifer Aniston's given to anybody in a really long time. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm a fan, and I don't, I love her work, and she's doing incredible work on Morning Show and otherwise. And I watch I live for the show. I want to be on the show. So we had a conversation, and I was just genuine. And so I don't know. So for me, it's about that, because if they feel comfortable and like you respect the work, and I think too, sometimes they'll think it's going to be a standard interview. And then when they realize you've actually watched the show or watched the film, it shifts. Like it's like, oh, okay, so this person is different. Oh, this isn't somebody who doesn't know who I am, who hasn't seen the show. Oh, we can actually engage with the work that I spend such a hard time on. Like when I interviewed oh my gosh, Poor Little Things, Emma Stone. We were talking in the commercial break before it. I just watched the movie, and she said something. I was like, it's great watching her evolve and be empowered. And she was like, I always saw her as empowered. And I was just kind of like, that totally shifted my whole thinking about the film, that she's always empowered. And it sparked a great conversation on when we came back from commercial. And I felt like she was engaged, because she got to talk about this journey of this character, and she obviously worked her ass off on it, so we get to, I don't know, it's that I like having something real happen.
But that is why, in my opinion, it's working.
Thank you.
Because you hit the big words. You're having a conversation, which means you're listening.
Yes.
And as my mother used to say, if you're a fan, the viewers feel that. It's not boring. It's not reading off of cards, and it's engaging. Yeah. And it's the best. I would say it's the best cocktail party in the world.
Yeah.
You talk to everybody for 2 minutes and then move on. No one's getting truly like, I really am not that interested in, your opinion on whatever. I just want to, and also I want to have fun. You keep it light, and that's the fun part.
Sometimes, depending on the project, and I try to keep it light, and depending on the project, though, sometimes the project's serious. And so if it's appropriate, and if the actor, I let them lead or act artist. I'll let them lead. If they want to, if it's something more serious that they want to talk about in relationship to the work, then I'll let them take the lead on that.
But I mean, you don't let it go off the rails into the world.
I try not. I want it to be an escape. It needs to be an escape. As political as I am, I watched red carpet coverage for 20 plus years to escape. And so I want the fashion, I want the whole experience to be an escape. Because we fucking need that right now in the world.
It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
It's and the red carpets are pretty people who have done pretty things walking down a pretty background in a pretty dress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's candy.
Yeah, absolutely. And
but we just touched on fashion.
Yes.
Mon petite. Okay. First of all, how do you choose what you're going to wear? Because I know I was always very aware of what the event was. Mm-hmm. So, as we used to say, Golden Globes, you're going out to get laid. Like, you're in party mode, you're having a blast, everyone is loose. And it's early in the year, so everybody's still kind of getting along. The Oscars, I used to say, is your very wealthy dinner at your very wealthy grandparents' house. You're not convinced you're in the will yet, and you cover all the tats. You know what I mean?
I love that. I absolutely love that. For me, oh gosh, this last season, it's changed over the years, because this last season I wanted to kind of, because I've been collecting vintage fashion for a while, and I kind of want to just pull from some of my own archives and just kind of have it be that. So a lot of it was like, how do I want to feel? And it's Emmys, and we always have a lot of fun at the Grammys. And a lot of it was just like, what kind of story do I want to tell? I always ask instead of well, who are you wearing, as your mother popularized, I asked, what's the story behind this look?
Which, by the way, was the most brilliant threading of the needle to get the same answer that I have ever seen. And I texted the truck going, oh my God, you figured out how to say it for a new era. Because you can't say who are you wearing or what are you wearing, because that's supposed to be disparaging. But you're like me. You want to know what they're wearing.
Well, and genuinely, most people are spending a lot of time, money on a stylist. Things have been pulled, jewelry has been pulled,
Yeah.
So, it's a business. The red carpet is a business.
Thank you.
The people who have loaned jewelry want and need the shout outs. So that's part of the thing. But then also in fashion, there's always storytelling. I love designers like Terry Mugler, who told stories through the clothes. Galliano, who told stories through the clothes, and just even from an editorial perspective, what's the fashion story in a magazine? So it just made sense to me to like, well, what's the story behind this? So I would think about like the story. Like I started this year, because we had 2 Emmys this year. I started the year in like some archival Mugler, and it's the 50th anniversary of the Mugler brand this year. So it felt, and actually I happened to wear I think it was a week after Zendaya wore the Machine and or the Fembot robot to the June premiere, and so I happened to be wearing Mugler as well, archival Mugler as well. Obviously, her moment was the most iconic. I would say the most iconic red carpet of all time, in my opinion.
So far,
yeah.
She overtook the swan dress. I mean, there are those moments.
It's that moment. That for me, there's something about that robot that is so iconic, and it's been photographed many times. Mugler made his version for Beyonce, but it's never been on a red carpet before. And to put it on a red carpet, and for Dune with that great backdrop, it was just freaking genius. And the fact that she fit into it when it was made for a specific person. In the Mugler documentary, there's actually footage of the very first fitting, and it's like, you're crying, and they were nervous because like, will she fit into this? Like, because every joint, if it was fit, so there's joints and there's things like, if this doesn't fit just right, she can't move. This won't. It was like all precise, and she just like, it was made for, like, as if it were made for her.
Right, and she also admitted that it was so incredibly uncomfortable. But
oh yeah,
that girl Zendaya, she knows it's all so brilliantly and beautifully thought through. And you get that.
Yeah.
And that's why she constantly rocks the red carpet.
And there is a story. There really is a story.
They make it a moment. They always do.
Absolutely.
But that's why we look for them. Okay, but so you have this massive vintage collection.
It's turned massive, yeah. And I've gotten, I really kind of need to stop. It's gotten overwhelming, to be honest, because there are things in this room. This is like my, my closet, like my big closet, which is actually a studio apartment. And then we have things in storage because I want to have things nicely displayed so and not cluttered.
How did that start?
You know, I've always loved vintage. When I first started dressing myself in middle school, I started the Salvation Army and Goodwill. And through high school, I thrifted a lot and in Birmingham, Alabama, and then in Indiana, and when I was in Indiana. So thrift stores were just kind of my thing in middle school, high school, and college. And it's just been a part of my life for a long time. I've always just worn thrift clothes or vintage clothes. And my Mugler obsession specifically started in 1992 with that Too Funky video. And then I became obsessed. And for years, but with my stylist, when we started getting things made for us, because I've never sample sized, so we always have to get things custom made. Whenever we would have a blazer, I would send them a picture of a Mugler blazer. That's like the iconic blazer. And I was like, can we do something like this? And they would never do anything like that. And then maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I was like, maybe I can get Mugler online. And then I Googled it and I was like, oh my God. And back then it was way cheaper than it is now. He was still alive and so I bought my first Mugler blazer and then I bought my second one. And then it just turned into and then there's other designers I love too, Comme des Garçons and Galliano, and McQueen and Issey Miyake, but mainly Mugler. So, and then it just kind of started. And then honestly, when I got the job at E, I was like, I want to step up my fashion pussy. So I just wanted to and the whole thing around borrowing stuff from competing for dresses off the runway, borrowing from designers, a lot of times because, and I don't think I need to be any skinnier. I love my body. I love where it is now, but I still don't fit most samples. So that in fashion, award season always intersects with fashion week. So there's no time for a lot of the top designers who would like to dress me, but they don't have, they don't have time to make custom stuff for me. So that was really super frustrating. So getting really beautiful vintage pieces that are really well made. I have this Pierre Balmain suit jacket from 1953, and it is in the fifth, so that's 70 years old, and it is in incredible condition, and it is so well made that 70 years old, it's just they don't do that anymore. Can you imagine?
By the way, every straight man has now turned off, but that's fine. I don't care. I was like, what? You just don't cut the tag off? No.
I'll show my tits and maybe they'll come back.
Maybe they'll come back for a second. Oh, fuck, they're still talking about fashion, and click right back off. It's always, because you're a true, more than just a fashionista, you understand the art and the construction. Obsessed. You get these amazing vintage pieces and you look at just the construction on how the body is shaped on the inside, and then the draping is over. It's not just a slip dress you're popping in. There's a whole
there's
understructure.
And particularly with a Mugler, there is architecture. Even before, and I just recently realized this. He started working with Mr. Pearl, who was his corset maker in 1992 for his first couture show. So even in the 80s, this is from the 80s. It has this a little jacket situation that has this. So even in the 80s, before he was using corsets regularly, he found a way to give you a waist, give you hips, to give you this hourglass shape. And then when you start looking inside the jackets, he would cut out these pieces that it's brilliant. It's a brilliant mind. And I don't think that anyone makes a suit better than Mugler.
You go back to finding the Balmain piece. It's architecture.
Part of the reason I got the Balmain suit was because it reminded me of a lot of what Mugler did, and he was inspired by Balmain and Dior, obviously, right? The wasp waist is very new look. So I was like, this is something like Mugler would make. So I was just kind of wanted to look at it and to look at it inside, and wanted to just and then it was a little small, so my tailor altered it. and at some point I'm going to wear it. It is, but it's just so, it's so Mugler 1993. It could be out of that Mugler fall 1993 collection, which is one of my favorites from him. And it's just the way it's made, the quality, it's just incredible. And then I love drama, you know, I love,
No.
I'm looking at a dress right now.
You don't enjoy bringing the drama?
I'm looking at a dress right now. The room is a bit of a mess. I'm going to turn the computer
Okay,
around.
let's see.
I'm looking at a dress right now that I've never worn. Can you see this dress?
Oh.
This is Comme des Garçons. I just have it on a mannequin because it makes me happy than some other stuff. Never worn it, but the drama. I imagine it would have been great for the Met Gala this year with the theme, the Garden of Time.
Yeah.
But I just love the drama too. I love construction. I love wonderful fit, fabric, proportionate silhouette, the wonderful luscious fabrics, and I don't know. I love fashion.
That is what my mother would refer to as an entrance dress.
Yes, and a very difficult one. Getting it on the mannequin, my assistant had to help me get it on the mannequin. It's like you need help getting it. You can't get that into that by yourself. Obviously,
you're not pulling it out of the carry-on and stepping in.
No.
You don't look at that and go, oh, that'll travel really well. This is perfect for travel.
No, that's not in the carry. Oh my God. That reminds me, this first time I had a wig. I had a wig in a wig box. This is like my first GLAAD Awards in 2009, pre-Orange is New Black. I had someone curl and style a wig for me, and it was in a wig box, and I took it on the plane, and there was this gay flight attendant who was like, do you want me to put that up front? Because, you know, I didn't want it to get smashed, and he was so lovely, but like I took this wig on the plane.
We all have those moments. Like my mother always, for whatever reason, at night her extensions would start to bother her or whatever, and she had no hesitation. Like at dinner, she would just like pop one out, there are clip-ins, and throw it in her purse. And one time my mom's like, oh, there's a cookie for you in my purse. And he goes and he's like, Mom, there's too much hair in here. Can you help me find it? Grandma's hair is in her purse. And going through TSA, you know, with all the little metal clips, it would be like.
Or hairpins, and when you have the wig, and so I try to minimize my hairpins when I go through TSA now, because then they're like in there trying to get the stuff. But that reminds me of when 2014 at the Glamour Women of the Year Awards, I was heavier. My weight fluctuates. I was heavier, and I was doing like these crazy waist centers to give myself in like an hourglass figure, and I of course in heels. And there was a dinner afterwards. I was at the dinner, and I was just like, I was in pain, and I couldn't eat. And like, I literally sat. I like went to the bathroom and just took off the Spanx and the waist center and the heels, and I came out, and everything was kind of
no better feeling.
And then I had a big bag with like the center and the Spanx and the heels, and I ate so much food. It was so good.
Well, and by the way, nothing feels better than taking that shit off.
It's like the best thing ever. Like, I love the glamour, but God, sometimes it hurts. I feel like my philosophy is like, I can't start having fun till the heels are off. So I always try to have like a big bag, if it's some with flat shoes in it, so I can take them off after the red carpet or after the photos. I take off the heels so I can like have fun.
But there was a famous quote. I want to say it may have been Diana Vreeland. Glamour has no alarm clock. Fashion knows no pain.
Yeah, girl, no.
I once had a dress that was so tight, and it was for a red carpet thing. And I said to my longtime stylist, oh my God, I can't breathe. And without missing a beat, he said to me, not my problem. He was right. It looked really good in the photos.
It's like, for me, I have those pieces that because I have some stuff that I don't want to have altered, and it's really tight, and it's for a photo shoot, or I'll put it on a mannequin because I obviously do that. And then it's for a photo, but like I can't, even like when I'm on the red carpet, like I would always take the heels off right after the photos. So like in every red carpet I've done, thing I've done, I'm in flats the whole time. There was one Grammys I had to keep the heels on because of the nature of the look, but I just like need to be grounded and need to be relaxed so I can freaking do my job. Like the
Oh,
posing, the glamour thing is for the look and for the pose and for but then like let's just fucking let it all go.
thank
That
God
was
my mother
fun.
is dead rather than to hear you say that because she would have to slap the shit out of you.
That I took my heels off. She wouldn't approve. I'm
Oh,
also 5'11", and she
she
was,
wouldn't care. She wouldn't care. She'd be like, mm-mm, you're too good. Put your heels back on. Nobody fucking wants to see you in flats.
we shot from the knees up.
Okay.
The camera person knew to shoot from the knees up. No one knew. No one ever knew, and I'm tall, so
Lucky. You're just
don't
trying to
get the
make me,
feet.
you're going to make me extremely jealous. Two more quick questions.
Okay.
You have your own Barbie or the inspiration for a Barbie.
Yeah, that
How much
happened.
does that mean? Question one. And question two, how much did you get to be involved in the look, the styling, the vibe, the whole thing?
So as far as the look, I wanted her to have multiple outfits, but they were like, that's going to raise the price of the Barbie and we want her to be affordable. I was like, so what if we did things that she could be a reveal that she could peel off? So it's like this bustier. It's could have inspired by something I wore on a red carpet. It's like a burgundy bustier, and the bustier comes off, and then there's like a um sheer dress over a cat suit. So the dress can come off and then it's a cat suit. And you can wear the dress over the cat suit by itself, or you could wear the bustier with the cat suit. So that was my idea. So I was very involved in that. And then they, did renderings of my face, and I was very involved. I wanted one more pass on my face, if I'm being honest, but that would have slowed down production. And we wanted it to coincide with my 50th birthday. So I just kind of at a certain point, you just have to let things go. I'm such a perfectionist that like I would nitpick for anything forever. And at a certain point, you just have to let things go. And that was incredible. But then going to the Barbie facility and like it's outside Los Angeles and seeing all the iconic Barbies, seeing how they like install the hair into the Barbie doll was amazing. There's a video on YouTube where I go to visit, and it was magical. And they're machines that they've had since like 1959. Like these are like 70-year-old machines, and there's like to get the parts replaced, there's only a few places you can go. So they've been using the sort of same techniques to make these Barbies since like the 70s. They've updated some things, but like that was magical, and all the amazing people who've had Barbies. And the biggest piece for me, it was a full circle moment, is that my mother didn't allow me to have Barbies when I was a kid because I was assigned male at birth. I'm trans. And so she wouldn't let me have them. And I remember 2009-ish, I was in a therapy session and relayed the story. And my therapist was like, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. You can buy yourself Barbies and play with them and like release that inner child that you have. And I started doing that. And it was incredibly healing. I told my mother, I'm not gonna cry. I told my mother, and my mother for Christmas sent me a Barbie.
Oh,
And this is like,
now you're
2000.
going to make me cry.
And then she started sending me Barbie dolls, and it was incredible. And it was like, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. There's a kid inside all of us who needs to play, who needs attention, who needs nourishing, who may have been traumatized as a kid too, and may need like an adult Laverne to kind of help heal all that. And the Barbie was special and an honor, but it was also this full circle moment of healing. And I hope that people who play with her, people of all ages, people collect Barbies, of all ages, can have that experience of like, there's a kid in there that wants to play dress up, like, and have some fun and let her out because she needs to play. Because if you don't let her play and you don't acknowledge the little kid, she'll run the show. And you do not want a petulant, traumatized 9-year-old running the show. And so let her play. So then she'll let adult Laverne come in and manage things.
You are the living best.
Mm.
I adore you, and I am it's brought me real happiness today to know that you're the one captaining the ship of the red carpets.
That means everything to me. Thank you so much for that. Like, you have no idea how much.
Okay, before we both cry, Uglies now streaming on Netflix.
Yes.
Laverne Cox, thank you.
Thank you, Melissa Rivers.